Conversations podcast powered by JessTalk and LisaListen. What say you, LisaListen?
I am just over here vibing so hard and can't wait for you to welcome our fantastic special guest today.
He is so fantastic that I'm taking off my oculos. That's glasses in Spanish. I've got to put on some different glasses. I've got to put on some prescription shades.
The future's so bright, you got to wear shades.
It is so bright.
Is that what we're talking about here?
That's one way to look at it. But another way is that this cat is so cool. He's gonna be so bright and such a light. I don't want him to just turn off the lights when I come in. So I got a little shade action.
All right.
I'll take him off, but first I want to welcome him in with cool and coolness, because that is what he is.
Yes, indeed.
Fair enough.
All in, Jess. Let's do this thing.
We'll do it. We're going to do it right now. And who we're talking about is Louis Gossett Jr.
Woo.
And he is absolutely amazing. Here you are, Lou. Welcome to the program. We've got a lot to talk about in a half hour of power, sir.
Talk faster. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Jesse.
Hey, welcome, Lou.
And how do you like the coolness, man? Because we brought this on for you.
This is pretty cool. The water fountain is going, It's cool, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we're going to start with a bit of a bio first. So, Lisa, tell us about Lou. Tell us and those listening and watching about Lou. So, most folks do know him, but the ones that don't, there's some cool things in that bio.
There is indeed. Louis Gossett Jr. was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1936. He decided to pursue his acting career, making his Broadway debut at age 17 in the production Take a Giant Step.
Nice.
In 1959, he was featured alongside Sidney Poitier and Ruby Dee in Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun, which, by the way, Lou, Jesse and I watched last weekend, and we'll talk about that coming up soon.
Absolutely phenomenal, sir.
And after almost 6 decades of acting, Louis has appeared in over 350 film and TV titles, including Skin Game, Travels with My Aunt, The Laughing Policeman, The Deep, Jaws 3D, Enemy Mine, and the Iron Eagle series, and Toy Soldiers. In recognition of his talents, he's received numerous acting awards, including the Academy Award for his unforgettable performance as Gunnery Sergeant Emil Foley in An Officer and a Gentleman.
Yes. You know who you look a little like, though, Lou, and don't take this the wrong way. You look a little like Donna Summer.
Summer.
You work hard for the money.
Yes. 350.
Go ahead, ladies.
He is the first African-American male to win a supporting role. He has earned an Emmy Award for his portrayal of Fiddler in Roots. Although Gossett is still working in films and TV with recent roles in Madam Secretary,
nice.
the BET miniseries The Book of Negroes, and a reoccurring role in the CBS TV series Extant.
How do you say it, Lou?
Extant.
Okay. He is primarily dedicating the last quadrant of his life to an all-out, conscious offensive against racism, violence, ignorance, and social apathy. As such, Gossett founded Louis Gossett Jr.'s Eracism Foundation to support this quest.
And you're sporting it, Lou. You're sporting it.
And guess what? So are we, Lou.
You're looking good, Lou.
Thank you, sir.
Now, can you tell we're sporting the Eracism Foundation gear as well?
Well, I need an injection on my eyes so I can see through this blank screen.
Well, the rest of the folks can see that we're representing, right, Lee?
That's right.
So all three of us. So it's all good. So with that being said, Lou, that is an extensive body of work. You do not look fatigued.
It's been a long time.
It has been.
And it's at its height even now. When you think about it, it's really a long time. It's quite a lot of stuff.
It is. You're talking over 6 decades.
Yeah, that's what you know. I just got
it. Well, my question to you before we from the bio of all of that impressive bio, of all of those roles, this may be difficult, not for you probably. Which one of those roles do you feel best represents the quality of character that you are?
Well, you know what? I go through a humbling exercise. I can say the fiddler. I could say officer and gentleman.
Right.
Sadat. I could say enemy mine. Right. But for sanity and humility, it's the next job I'm going to get.
There you go. In other words, you have respect for what you've done, right?
Yeah.
But you also have respect for where
you're going. The Book of Negroes. That's the last big thing I did. And whatever's next, you put all of it the sum total of all your years and all your experience into the next job.
Well said. That's a great way to look at that. What do you think of that, Lise?
I love it. I really do. And I can't wait to check it out.
Well, here's the deal. Then with that being said, let's slide over to the book, because this book, and I'm going to hold this up for the camera for the people can see, An Actor and a Gentleman. This is an outstanding book. Lisa and I actually read the book out loud together to one another, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know that first chapter?
The first chapter is, you came hitting hard in the first chapter. Tell us about that first chapter, the inspiration for that.
I come from an after-depression society that made history in the United States.
Okay.
All through the Eastern Seaboard, specifically in the Brooklyn, Long Island, the Bronx, and Manhattan. It was right after the Depression. Nobody had a whole lot of money. People had jumped out of windows. And so there was a blacklist happening. Estes Kefauver was going after the blacklist as the somewhat the communist people in the Actors Studio. John Garfield, everybody was running and changing their names. And there was a sympathetic Board of Education by the name of William Jansen, who's the superintendent of the Board of Education in New York. And he took all of these people in. Some of them were science professors and Latin professors. And they went to the boondocks of New York City. And I had Latin teachers in 5th grade.
Yes.
And I grew up with their children.
Yes.
Long story short, those children of those brilliant people became Arthur Miller, Barbara Streisand,
Nice.
Neil Simon, Louis Gossett Jr., Sandy Koufax, Carole King. And we became a renaissance of art and medicine. And we became very homogeneous. We became the hippies and became but we wanted no war. We wanted peace, and we wanted to be together as a country. And at that particular time, it was not good for J. Edgar Hoover. So it was broken up.
Right.
But those people created Broadway and the early movies. The Elia Kazans, the Garfields, the Brandos, all of these guys created a wonderful renaissance. And that's my background. So fade out, fade in. Those same people came and sent me to Los Angeles in 1966 in first class. Presidential suite at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And he told me I had a car waiting for me at Crescent Heights. That's about a 20-minute drive from the Beverly Hills Hotel to the Crescent Heights and back and forth. So I got into the Ford Fairlane Galaxy 500, red with a white interior, white with red interior. I put on Sam Cooke music, and I started coasting down Sunset Boulevard.
Cool.
2.5 hours to get to the hotel. I met every Rod Steiger character on the police force they could find.
Wow. You know what? That is something. That is
the first day.
That is a huge challenge, and the book says that nearly brought you to your knees. You made a call home to the parents, as I recall in the book. You're ready to go home.
I'm in Beverly Hills, and he's coming in and told me, I'll be right there.
Wow, that's phenomenal. When we read that part in the book, Lise, what resonated with you to hear and see and feel that Lou had those kind of troubles early, right out of the gates, after kicking it on Broadway?
And that night, of course, I went out to see the movie Stars Homes, and they handcuffed me to a tree for 3 hours.
Yeah, we read that.
3 hours. Now, during that 3-hour handcuffing, what was running through your mind?
To get out of that, to pick the tree up off its roots.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In his hotel, and to go to the black neighborhood, and from the black neighborhood to the airport.
Wow. So now what was driving that was stone cold fear, was it not?
With a capital F.
Yeah, fear of the unknown. By the way, you're wearing that medallion. We've seen that a few times. Is there a reference to that medallion that you're wearing as well?
Put it on the website. This particular one is for spiritual strength.
Nice.
The mandala.
What's the composite of it? What's it made of?
I don't know what it's made of. It's just, it's got silver streaks in it and stuff, and it's hypnotic. And what it does is, it's so far, everybody who sees it calms down so we can have a nice conversation.
Nice. Just like this. But you know what? Here's what you are to me, Lou. You are truly a Renaissance man.
Yes.
And that's well, I don't have to tell you because you just spoke of, but a Renaissance man to me goes back into those ages when one man was a scientist, an astronomer, and a doctor, and an artist. In other words, he had multiple skill sets at the highest level because since I've known you over the last 15 years, I've seen you demonstrate multiple skill levels at the highest level. And I would call you definitely a Renaissance man.
Well, all of us became that. We all became that. The Elia Kazans, the Carole Kings, and Arthur Millers, obviously, and all those particular people. We learned from one another. Very
much so. I liked, at least you had a question about how he came up with the book, right?
Yes, Lou. What inspired you to title the book An Actor and a Gentleman?
Well, somebody else did that. I think it was my ghostwriter did that, Phyllis Karras.
Okay.
There's a couple of things, and they chose that. So I have to stay out of the ego-filling thing, so they chose that.
Okay, fair enough.
Things had come to a head, all kinds of stuff. It's like the Peggy Lee song, is that all there is?
It's not all. You know what? I like that. And then there's another saying that says it's not always about what it's about.
Right. You get to a certain point, and you're full of certain things that are truths, some are lies. A lot of flotsam and jetsam and garbage are in your head and your heart, and you reach a place where you're about to explode. And in order to continue on, you got to get rid of it.
Very nice. You got to let go.
You got to let it go, and I let it all go, all the poisons and all the stuff, into the book.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Lisa, there's someone in the chat room that wants to say something to or about Lou?
Yes. Beth, you said that you like the word eracism. Did Lou coin the word eracism?
No, I didn't coin the word eracism, but it was invented in New Orleans by the Choctaw, a society that's trying to get equality for the Choctaw and the Cajuns and outside of New Orleans.
Choctaw Indians.
Storefront organization called the Eracism.
Okay.
And then that's it. I forgot about it. And it was on the license plate. And then one night I was driving in front of SC, University of Southern California. And there was a young black kid selling T-shirts with an Eracism T-shirt on.
Nice.
I made a U-turn. I bought them all.
Nice.
This time was not like this. It was it's called Eracism with the Everhart Faber eraser, starting to erase the word.
For sure.
That was the first one. And that's when it started. It's over 10 years ago.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. I totally like that. It's well that you've adopted that, and it works very well. Does that answer it for
yes,
Beth, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
I can explain those police that handcuffed me to the tree. I can explain what's happening in South Carolina. I think I can get through that to get to the next level. So being an elder, I need to hopefully get that to the next young people to know that the anatomy of the so-called enemy of racism is more than black and white. It's in the DNA of all of us.
Well said. And I believe that the whole racism thing is not something you're born with. It's something you're taught.
No, yeah, it's something you're taught, and it's the way to go. It's been done that way for centuries.
And handed down.
And handed down from one to another. But for certain advantages, certain things are withheld, certain pieces of information are withheld so that you can keep control. It is the Napoleon, King George, Henry VIII philosophy. It comes from all old civilizations, from the Vikings, from Genghis Khan. It's the way to do it.
Absolutely. It's unbelievable though. In the book, An Actor and a Gentleman, I found Lisa and I found we first I didn't do anything, but I start finding unbelievable identical matches to the circumstances that you write about in the book. And I'm not going to tell them all because I want people to go and get the book. In fact, while you're watching or listening to this program, do go and get the book and go to the Eracism Foundation website to get the book.
.org.
Just say it, Lise.
Eracismfoundation.org.
Thank you, Lise.
Okay, come on. That's why she's here, Lou. Come on now. And so
that's the only reason, Jess?
That's one good reason. That's one good looking Lou. Lou knows. And so I want you listening, those people that are listening and watching this program to go and get this book. It was so compelling, not just because I related to it so well. It was so compelling because fully 90% of the things you write about in there of challenging incidents that help you grow to become this powerful Renaissance man that you are, those identical things happened to me in northern Nevada, Reno and Hawthorne, Nevada.
It's global. It's more than black and white. I've made a pact with Phyllis Karras, who's my ghostwriter. We got 5 more chapters, an addendum to the book. So
nice.
It would help the people to buy the book and then order the addendum.
I love that. I love what you said. Looks like you got someone else in the chat room, Liz.
We have Madeline that says we can change racism with education. And Julie wants to know, Lou, how do you specifically plan to change it?
Well, it's a humble contribution, but it's just like the philosophy. The smallest thing on the planet is the atom. But you know what happens when you split it.
Oh, well said.
So I want a center. It's a synagogue complex. It's a center. It's called the Shamba Center. And I'm starting with one. Hopefully, within the next 6 months, it'll be open at the Challengers Club for boys and girls on 51st in Vermont. It's already built. I want in Los Angeles, which is one of the cities most famous for its diversity, I'm asking 2 children between ages of 8 and 15 to be sent to the center.
Nice.
It's a synagogue complex, a partner site from school. It's called Education Before Education. This education used to happen in the homes and the neighborhoods. It does not happen anymore.
Okay.
So let's put that education back with 2 from Korea, 2 from Japan, 2 blacks, 2 Latinos, 2 French, 2 everything in one place. And the curriculum is dress code,
Okay.
hygiene,
Yes.
respect for the elder, and knowledge of your culture and one another's,
Okay.
respect for the opposite sex, physical fitness,
Nice.
spirituality, and a major thing called conflict resolution, where you can agree to disagree, go to blows about it.
I love it.
University professors who are going to have a meeting in the next week or so, they have the curriculum of those lessons, those lectures, and those games where they need each other in order to win.
Well said. You know what? That reminds me of your cousins and relatives back east in New York that protected you from all the gangs and the fights and all that stuff. Right?
All of us survived because the family was there to keep us straight.
The village. You had the power of the village. You know, with that being said, that pretty much releases it for her, don't you think?
Absolutely.
And
all responsible in the neighborhood. The elders are always responsible for the children, whether theirs or not. You don't do that here.
Well said. I love that.
One more thing. Do you plan to take eracism city to city? Because we could certainly use it here in Las Vegas.
From the model to the country.
Oh, I love it. You know what?
Same concept, not ironically, but fortunately, we found out, I spoke at the United Nations, and it came to me and said, you built this place for world peace, and that's not number 1 on your agenda today.
Okay.
And it was silence. So now I'm invited there once a year to speak at the General Assembly, and I'm part of UNICEF. So it's the same concept again.
Yes.
The same concept. And the bottom line is, if we're not taking care of our children, and we're not taking care of this planet, which is about to die, then we all may as well be in a 747 airplane.
Yes.
And everybody's in the plane, but the plane's about to crash. But everybody inside the plane is fighting over who's going to be in first class.
Wow, that's an amen.
Yeah.
Is that powerful?
Yes, and Julie, who's in our chat room, her father was named after Jack Daly Elementary. She said they have an actual conflict resolution person on site at their school.
It's essential.
Wow,
Yes.
That's unbelievable. You know what that sparks for me is that we want to reward some 2 fine people on this program today. Number 1, with a copy of your signed autographed book, which we diligently wanted to purchase. We purchased books from you in the past. We'll continue to purchase books from you in the future. We'll see if we can negotiate the signature thing to get maybe a discount on when you sign them or not. I'm just kidding about that.
The minority discount, as you
I want the minority
say.
discount, my brother.
Got the language.
So, but anyway, we're going to give one of these away. Lisa, tell us how they're going to get first your copy, a copy of your book signed, and they're going to get a copy of How You Leave Them Feeling, our book, my book, which you also wrote the foreword to. Tell us, Liz.
We are going to judge who had the most relevant question.
Okay.
And the best engagement.
Okay.
And we will determine that at about 5:25 who the winners of these books
Okay,
go
good.
to.
So pay attention, get involved, get engaged. We've got the powerhouse, Louis Gossett Jr. on the line here. And Louis, tell me this. You had a passage you want to share with us. You wanted to read a little something for
It's
us.
something we all know.
Okay.
And maybe sometimes it's just to our disadvantage if we know it too much by heart because you don't realize what we're saying.
Okay.
And this was sent to me, and it was done on Facebook. You can get it yourself. Red Skeleton.
Okay.
A comedian said it, and I wrote it down. It's the Pledge of Allegiance. And he got there, and the rest is explanatory. Let me read it to you, and then we'll talk about it when I'm finished.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
I pledge allegiance and all of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so me, an individual, a committee of 1, pledge, dedicate all my worldly gods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United, that means that we have all come together. States of America, individual communities that have united into 50 great states, 50 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders. not the leaders, to the people. Oh, I understand. It's love for the country. And to the republic, and to the republic of which I said that, for which it stands, one nation meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation, and justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with one another, for all, which means boys and girls is as much as your country as it is mine.
Wow.
So now we say it.
Yes.
I remember when I was a kid saying, and I used to think it was the flag of a man by the name of Richard Stans. I said, who's Richard Stans? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for Richard Stans. I realized it's for which it stands. When I see this, then I remember the Lord's Prayer. And I'm going to speak in Baton Rouge at this Bible school that's graduating. When we pray, our Father, how definite and how deep that really is when we know what we're saying. So now I'm looking at every kind of prayer and every kind of motto, and I take it personally.
Wow.
And so it's changed my life. This one red skeleton thing has changed my life to reinvestigate why I pray and how I pray and what I know what I'm saying.
That is what I call a defining moment and a defining piece, yes?
So we'd say it, and we have to really realize every day we say that. Do we really know what we're saying?
Do we know what we're saying? You know, most people memorize the words and they don't know. In fact, I think Lisa has Beth in the chat room that wants to make a comment about that.
She said that the YouTube by Red Skeleton has been on there for years. It's very powerful, and she said she's got an organization in Florida. She's with the Sarasota Patriots, and she said they use this pledge at their meetings.
Outstanding.
Yeah, you know, by the way, we're going to be speaking for her in November, Lou, so there's a tieback. I have a funny feeling that Beth watching this is resonating with all of us, Lisa, you, myself, Scott in the studio, and these type of messages are empowering, powerful messages. People need to hear this stuff, Lou. So that's a great takeaway.
Yeah, it
Liz?
really is.
Great one. So thank you for that.
What a beautiful thing that happened as a result of the tragedy in South Carolina, where people of all colors and races said, enough.
Enough. I like it. Well said.
And they got together and they marched together to stop other stuff. And that's what America is supposed to be about.
That's
what it's supposed to be about.
That's the whole point. It's a melting pot of all different types of races, ethnic backgrounds, creeds, cultures, religion, all that. In fact, that reminds me, that passage you just read, actually, I want to read a little passage from your book that's really cool. Twice as good, 1936 to 1952. I'll read just a couple quick passages. I love this. I've always thought of my early career as a reverse Cinderella story. I started out on top, sure. There were lean times, but from the very beginning, success followed me, delivering me to the right people, pushing me onward and upward, so long as I obeyed the rules and until I hit the brick wall. What do you mean by twice as good, Lou?
Well, it's the original rules of the exemplary minority to make it. So you can't be good. You have to be twice as good as your competition.
I've always felt that.
Robinson has to be 10 times as good.
I've always felt that, and that's a good thing. It can be a double-edged sword. If you are twice as good as the competition and you get in certain environments, it could...
even today, but I made peace with this. This thing, every possible thing a man could win, acting-wise and social-wise, is on the shelf.
Right.
Now, in reality, I should be in a mansion somewhere, you think, and with horses and all kinds of things. But I never got $1 million for any movie. And those things used to tear me up inside. They no longer do that. There's a priceless thing that I pursue, which makes it even much more richer than being twice as good. But God makes us twice as good.
Well, you...
Simplify and humble.
Well said.
After that.
Well said. You shared something with me once in one of our personal conversations, and you were at one of those Emmy Award celebrations like you're talking about there. And it was the one when Denzel Washington and Halle Berry won both for Actor and Actress of the Year. Yeah. And a lady sitting next to you said to you, she wasn't a person of color, and she said, "Oh, that is so good for you people."
Yeah.
And you looked at her and said, you told me, you looked at her and said, "That is good for all people."
All people. Yeah.
Do you remember that story you shared with me?
That's sophisticated. That's not even happening today. I feel a little negative that the Book of Negroes didn't even get mentioned.
Right.
As far as the Emmys are concerned. But then I thought about it, and it's the in crowd. Now, the in crowd is a little bit more sophisticated. More blacks are involved now.
Right.
But it's still the in crowd, and there's no such thing as the in crowd.
Wow.
That's my life.
Wow.
Everybody is in.
Yeah, everybody's in.
Humbled and do the number one thing is the caretaking of this planet and our children.
And advancing it one step forward by one person, one word, one sermon, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, you have something else for Lou?
Well, this is another timely, relevant, trending question, and it comes from Beth again. What are your thoughts on displaying the Confederate flag? And
that's small potatoes, baby, and it's only the tip of an iceberg of a mentality.
There you go. Enough
there
said. Enough said. I love that.
They'll take the flag down themselves.
I love that. Well said.
Yeah.
Well, let's thank Beth again for some good contribution. Lou, I want to this is another small passage.
Still, that book.
Well, no doubt about it. She's going for it, right? Yeah. This one is the third paragraph is in the same chapter of Twice as Good. You say, "Yet even though I have proved I was a man, I never ignored the messages I received from the churches as well as from the people like Mrs. Steers. You're lucky that you're a black man who has a chance to go places, to be larger than life. If you make a mistake, it would be horrible. You could be shiftless in private, but never in public. I had a heavy weight on my shoulders. I had a job to do, and I performed it to the best of my ability. It was a job made far easier by the quality of the teachers who led me through doors and that I thought might never be known existed. Teachers who taught me Latin, as you mentioned earlier in the program, Latin, and at age 8, teachers who had been college professors and were accused of being communists by the Tennessee Senator Estes Kefauver, and forced out of those classrooms by the accusers, blacklisted teachers such as Gus Bloom, who was the man that taught you acting and encouraged you to go into acting in the first place. Originally, Gustav Bloomberg, the playwright director who was pushed out of the theater by the ugliness of the McCarthy era. Great passage.
Yeah. So to be exemplary and to be on your point and be like that, as Jackie Robinson, who died of a bleeding ulcer before he was 60, it's impossible for any man to do that.
Wow.
Point where it all exploded. And you get tired.
You do get tired. You get
tired, and you win the award, and you get underpaid, and you get still with a finger in the face. One story I want to tell you, and it's all lessons. I don't have any emotion about it anymore.
Well, you know what we're going to do, Lou? You're going to bring us home with that story because we have 2 minutes left, and you're going to bring us home with that story.
Well, I also want to point out, to buy a book, please go to the racismfoundation.org right now and buy your book, and Lou will autograph it as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send it to the chat room. The winner for the Actor and a Gentleman today is going to be Beth.
Of course.
And
yep.
And the How You Leave 'Em Feeling book is going to go to Madeline.
Okay, very good. Well done. Lou, bring us home with that story that you've got. Let's close it with that.
I can hear you.
Can you hear us now,
Lou?
Me? Yes.
Well, the morning after I got the Oscar, I went to the supermarket to get my eggs and my milk and stuff, and everybody in the supermarket applauded me. Now, we have a mascot in Malibu who's passed away. We called him Paul Newman because he had Paul Newman eyes.
Okay.
And he had long hair all the way down to his waist and his back. Very nice guy. And he had a shopping cart. And he had burlap because he couldn't afford shoes. So I come out and they said, "Hey, Louie, what's the noise in there?" I said, "Well, they were applauding me." He says, "They were applauding you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Why?" And I said, "I got an Oscar." He looked at me with disbelief and said, "They gave you an Oscar?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Congratulations." Now, this homeless man without shoes, with blue eyes, pointed his finger in my face and said, "You still got to behave yourself."
Nice. Wow.
That's how deep it is.
That is way deep. That's a great story. That's a great one to leave with. He left you feeling incredibly in spirit with that thought, yes?
Yep.
And you know what, Lou? You're inspiring to all of us. We appreciate the friendship and the professionalism. We want to do all that we can to support you and racism. Lisa wants to say something.
I just want to say, at the end of the day, it's all about how you leave them feeling.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And you left us feeling incredible. We want to continue to contribute to you, your efforts, racism, the foundation, and anything else that you have going on, Lou. So keep us in mind and let's stay connected.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Beth. And thanks for your time, Lou. We'll be in touch.
In the mail.
There you